Yeah.
Hi guys, it's Amy here. I am part of the Midwest team at Redox Bionutrients, and I'm super excited to be interviewing or talking to Jason Webster, who runs the Precision Planting Research Farm in Pontiac, Illinois. We just wrapped up our first Redox trial in 2025. Jason, I know you're still in the shop right now, kind of finishing up last year's trials, but I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about the PTI farm, what you guys do there.
Yeah. Thanks for having me today. Appreciate being on here. My name is Jason Webster. I manage the PTI farm. We are Precision Plantings 480 acre on farm research facility. So we are the leg of on farm research that we do when Precision Planting releases new products and technology. We have them here to show what the challenge, agronomic challenge is, and then we show how we're going to address it and try to solve some of those. That way maybe 30 to 40% of the farm. The rest of the farm is just addressing everything a farmer has to deal with. It's all the management decisions and all the other technology that's out there. We just challenge the status quo. That was our vision to start with. We know that farmers, especially as they get older, they kind of get into this bubble where they feel really comfortable of doing the things they've done for a long time. Dad taught them how to do things. Granddad taught him how to do it. And by golly, that's just what they do on the farm. Their equipment's set up to do it. Their state of mind is, okay, we're going to go do this again. We're really good at it. We know how to do it, and we're going to do it again next year. But the problem is, even though you think you're good at it, how do you know it's not the best thing that you could be doing? And what I mean by best is, what are we doing on the farm to get highest yield? Or more importantly, especially in the economy we're in right now today, is how do we be more efficient and how do we make more money on a per acre basis? And that's hard for a farmer to realize that because they have to put in plots. That takes time, that takes money, and those are two things in farming we don't have near enough of. So that's why we do it here at the PTI farm. We bring growers in from across the country, from around the world, and we just have an agronomic conversation of what are the issues we're dealing with in the field and how can we be better.
Okay, cool. And you and I we've been working together for a couple of years, so I was excited last year when I reached out. It was early spring, right, to say, hey, I want to get some products on the field. I've got this product called RDX-N, which we'll talk about. But this particular product, I guess we don't want to be in a bucket, but I'd say it's in the nutrient use efficiency product lane. And you gave me some feedback on maybe your experience of kind of dealing with products like that in the past. So maybe give us some insight into your thoughts on that.
Right now we're going through and looking at all the trials we tested, all the replications, and there's a lot of losers out there. Is how I look at it. And I think we've got to be able to isolate the things that can work for our farm. I mentioned how do we be better, and so we're looking at only 40% of the products that we're testing actually working in the field, giving us a high return. And the problem is the things that are losing for me, they're losing about 2x than I'm making on the products that are actually doing well. So the risk reward on this is pretty high for a lot of growers. So we're just trying to figure out, okay, which ones are going to give us the best chance of winning. I'm not a big gambler. You won't find me going to Vegas a lot because I don't want to lose money. But I think a lot of people would consider farming a gamble, and we're just trying to improve our odds of winning. And so when it comes to nitrogen management and some of the products that you have with the RDX-N, it just seemed like a perfect fit. And we've got, in my opinion, I think we've got some really good planter attachments where we can apply some of these products in furrow, whether it's with our furrow jet kind of right up the gut next to the seed, or whether it's with conceal off to the side. I think the placement's incredible. So we want to find those products that are going to work and then tag team this, partner together, and say, here, we've got a solution here that we can have a winner.
Yeah, and what you highlight, we talk about the opportunity trial, inside our dealer network. You got to have economics, agronomics, and logistics, right? And with your equipment, your technology, that's checking the logistics box. We'll talk a little bit about the agronomics and what you trialed this year. But I think we just came out of a dealer meeting in our headquarters in Burley, Idaho, over 40 plus different dealers throughout the Midwest. And economics, definitely based on the USDA report that came out, is top of mind as growers are making those decisions, tough decisions, right? Going into this growing season, and they've got to eliminate any type of risk. But like you said, they're looking to actually pull some dollars from that field if they can. Like you said, if half these products don't work, And I would say as a supplier partner, right? Like we're exposed, right? Like I think that's, and I'll just give you a quick story. Actually, when we go over the results, we shared these this week in Idaho. And I said, what do you guys think about these PTI results? What do you think about them? Do you take them seriously, look at them? And I'd say majority of the hands went up in the air. And that's kudos to you, Jason, the work that you're doing there in Pontiac, is that these guys really trust that the data and results that you're putting forward is not biased, right? And you know that, right? Like you tell me that when we walked the field this past season, it's like, it is what it is. If it works, great. If it doesn't, everybody's going to know too. So, and guys respect like I said, the on-farm research that you're doing, because it helps them make more strategic decisions going into next year. So
Yeah, and too many outlets out there concentrate on yield only, and that doesn't tell the whole story. One of the things that we're really proud of here at the PTI farm is we concentrate on return on investment. It's all about how many dollars do you have in the checking account, right? And when they're gone, they're gone. You can't function anymore. So it's all about farm sustainability.
yeah.
So yield is an important part of the algorithm, if you will, or the math formula, but it's all about what did it cost me to get that yield, and did I make any more money? So when we rank all of our treatments, it's not by yield, it's by return on investment. Every year we make a top 10 list of the top 10 things that made me the most money at the farm, but then we switch it around and we say, okay, what are the 10 things that cost me the most money?
Oh, don't want to be on that list.
It's so relatable to farmers, and they just love seeing it. But everything we do is all about yield. I mean, we've got the corn growers contest, the soybean association high yield contest, even crop insurance, all yield, 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 yield.
That's
And
right.
I just think it needs to be, I made this many dollars on this field versus I raised this many bushels. That probably needs to have the more important aspect to it.
Cool. Well, let's dig into the data. Okay. So, Jason, you did 3 different trial protocols. And so what we're seeing here is your corn over corn trial. I have a picture here, not to get it confused, but we did actually do a 3-product trial. That's actually going to be on the last slide. But I guess we'll talk about what RDX-N is, right? So RDX-N, liquid product, you can see that right there, comes in 2.5 gallon jugs or totes. We're talking 16 to 32 ounces, super low use rate that goes in season. And we've got the patent on the botanical extract, which is really the powerhouse behind what this product is doing. And so unlike other nutrient use efficiency products, the mode of action for this product is actually inside the plant. And what I mean by that is when the plant is taking in nitrate, nitrogen, and metabolizing that inside the cell, the botanical extract in this jug is actually allowing that metabolism to increase and metabolize up to 50%. So depending on what you're doing, whether you've got a high management field and you're going for yield, or you want to actually replace up to 50%, and you'll talk a little bit about that, we're driving efficiency at a cellular level, I would say from the inside out at a plant level, to be able to increase that nitrogen metabolism rate. So that's kind of the simple kind of 10,000 foot view, and folks can learn more at our website. But I guess talk about this specific trial here and what we're trying to achieve.
Well, everything we do, we put a normal grower standard in. So you see on the left-hand side of the slide there, you'll see the control, which in this case for corn after corn, this has been continuous corn for, I believe, 8 years now straight. And so we do have some irrigation on the farm, and we tend to typically put that in corn every year. But for that corn, we're looking at 240 pounds of N. That's our 100% rate. And then we look at a 50-pound reduction just to see what happens if we short the plant nitrogen. In this case, in this corn after corn trial, we lost 22.2 bushel by putting on less nitrogen. And I think that's important to know to figure out if we were over applying nitrogen or not. And in this case, we lowered the nitrogen and we lost yield. And if you look at the slide underneath it, that 22.2 bushel loss, that equated to $63 per acre loss by not having enough nitrogen there. So the next step is, okay, we're still going to reduce our nitrogen by that 50 pounds, but we're going to add the redox, or RDX-N, into it. And look what happened to yield. Yield just came right back up, and we're within 2.1 bushel of our normal grower standard. You look at the dollars and cents of it, I've got my nitrogen savings. I got 50 pounds less nitrogen that I had to buy and I had to apply. I put the RDX-N in, and I ended up making $8.23. Now I look at that and say, well, did lowering nitrogen cost me any money? In this case, no, it did not. I saved 50 pounds. I bought the RDX-N and I ended up making an additional $8.23 per acre. The last part of the last treatment in the trial was using a full rate of nitrogen, that 240 pounds, adding the RDX-N. There was really no yield difference. It was only a third of a bushel difference, but with the cost of the RDX-N, we lost a little bit of money there. But this kind of shows me where I'm at in this corn after corn field. First year data for us looking at this, I feel like I can reduce some of my nitrogen, put the RDX-N in, and I'm not missing a beat. I'm actually making a few extra dollars by doing it. So environmentally, it's a great thing, putting less nitrogen on. Agronomically, I'm making more money on a per acre basis. This is a win-win.
Yeah. And that for the RDX-N, that was 16 ounces at planting, correct, with your conceal?
That's right. Yeah, we just mixed it right with 32% UAN on the planter through conceal. Yeah.
Okay. And your 240 pounds of nitrogen, can you talk a little bit about the timing in season, how much you put up front versus coming back in? Or...
Yeah. So we do testing on this, on rate and timing and placement. And our best nitrogen program, and we're going to keep using it until it gets beat by something else, it's a triple split program is what I call it. We put 25% of our nitrogen on the around as a weed and feed as we put our herbicide on. So 25% of our N goes there. It is a broadcast. I want since this is corn after corn, I want every piece of residue in the field touched with that UAN nitrogen to kind of help with the breakdown and be that feeder, if you will, to fire up mineralization later on in the season. But that's my first step. 25% of my total N with the herbicide is a weed and feed. Then I come in with the planter with conceal. I put on another 25%. So I've got half my nitrogen on before the corn even comes up. And then the other half will come as either a single or double side dress, depending on the weather.
Okay. And with RDX-N, we've got opportunities for shots on the field. We can go, you said pre-plant, we can go planting. I'm wondering, again, we could talk about trials for next year, but coming back in later at that side dress time would have been the better opportunity for that full rate. But we'll figure that out for next season. But like you said, yeah, the biggest opportunity for this particular field was the 50-pound replacement. We were able to maintain yield there, or pretty much maintain yield and get the positive ROI. Cool.
Some pretty good yields there. I mean, it was irrigated, but 325 bushel corn. So in a high yield environment, it's I can't lose money on this. I can't go backwards, and we proved that we did not. So if we did it right, it worked.
And look at total efficiency, right? If you were going to calculate nitrogen use efficiency, you guys are probably at a 0.7. So even at that, right, at your grower standard, we were still able to continue to optimize with that additional 50-pound replacement with 16 ounces RDX-N. So
exactly.
Cool. All right, corn after bean, fill us in.
Yeah, corn after beans, we set it up the same way. Instead of 240 pounds of nitrogen, we back it down because of that corn soybean rotation to 200 pounds of nitrogen. That's our baseline control. I reduce 25% of my nitrogen. I'm losing 16.2 bushels. So, I mean, we got to know that first and foremost. That cost me almost $40 an acre by doing that. We add the RDX-N into that same nitrogen reduction, and yield just comes right back up, just like it did in corn after corn. I'm actually 1.3 bushel better and a $22 an acre winner by doing this. So again, environmentally, I'm using less nitrogen out there, and I'm making more dollars by doing this. Will this make a top 10 list? Probably not at $22, but these are the little things that we need to do that'll keep adding up to make a big difference here.
Yeah, and then similar trend on the full rate here. Again, I'm thinking because we went at planning, if we had moved that 16 ounces to side dress, could we have made an impact because we've got the boatload of nitrogen going in at that time, and that is our recommendation. We're going to target the highest nitrogen load in season to put that RDX-N in to help that plant metabolize. So we did do it up front. We basically were flat. We're a bushel loss. Wondering next year if we slide that application to later in season, what could have happened. But like you said, we were able to not only maintain grower standard, but get an extra bushel. So
yeah, cool. And being a first year study, we wanted to kind of co-partner with this, and I wanted to use precision planting equipment in tandem with this. And so I agree with you. Next year we should probably keep that conceal treatment, but then add that side dress. And this is irrigated. We've got drip tape here. I wonder if maybe it could be a component too. Maybe later season we could add that as a part of this. So yeah, it should be exciting going forward.
Yeah, cool. All right, last one, we had 3 products. This was, we've got like a good, better, best program that we ran last year. So this would be our better program, it was RDX-N in addition to 2 foliar products, our Mainstay SI, which is a foliar calcium silicon product, and then our Banks product, which increases antioxidant production. It's good for abiotic stress defense. So walk us through here the 3 products and what you did in this field.
Yeah, this was part of our high management trial system that we have on the farm. We've got multiple different programs, different companies that we work with, and we say, okay, we're irrigated here. We've got tile underneath us. We've got a pretty good environment to push yield. What's it going to take to get the highest yield possible, and at the same time making money? So, we're running, just with our control program, almost 325 bushel corn, which a lot of growers will come to me and say, Jason, why are you even monkeying around with all these other treatments when you're making 325 bushel corn?
Seriously.
It's a good question, but I'll show them. I'm like, look, I want more. You can call me greedy if you want. That's fine. It won't hurt my feelings at all. But we take a 324.8 and, with the same amount of nitrogen, putting in the RDX-N and the Mainstay and the Banks, I pick up another 11.4 bushel and I make $11 an acre on top of it. So I want to keep doing those things to keep ramping yield up. Where we brought nitrogen down, our yield came down a bit at a bushel and a half. The cost of the program ate me up a little bit there, but it just kind of shows that we had some opportunities there to increase yield and profit, and that's what we're looking for. We talked about it before. We want to weed out those things that aren't working for us. Here, there's a clear, $11 an acre. I need to find every one of them that I can, because if this disappears, what's going to replace it? And so that's what we're struggling with, is let's find these products out here that'll maybe allow us to cut some expenses like nitrogen, to save a little bit of money, but farm smarter to increase yield at the same time. I mean, those are 2 things that are tough to do, and I feel in all 3 of these studies we did it.
And I'll just add to that, the current recommended application and whether to replace or not. We can work with very, very lean NUEs. We can, anything over a 0.7 or above, I'd say you got an opportunity to replace here. And you can see here just your 240 bushels and you're over 300 bushels, pretty optimized. So, like I said, maybe we need to look at maybe moving that timing, but the true upside here, he said, was that full rate, because you're already pretty efficient. We're able to get those 11 bushels. So
yeah.
Cool.
We've never been a farm where we put tons and tons of nitrogen on. I look at some high yield trials and some guys are putting on 500 pounds of nitrogen, and I don't want any part of it. If that's what it's going to take to grow high yield corn, I'm just not real excited about that. And so this trial had 240 pounds on it, but in my ultra high yield studies, the highest yield of nitrogen we'll ever apply is 299.9 pounds. So I can say that I've never applied 300 pounds or more nitrogen.
Wow, pretty cool. So Jason, you've got all your precision planting winter trials coming up. Like literally they start next week. We're going to be a bunch of those. I guess, how do folks, can they register? Can anybody show up? Fill us in on how to learn more and about these results.
Absolutely. So the best way to see all of our events is to go to our website at precisionplanting.com. At the top right hand of the screen, you'll see an events tab. Click on that events tab. You'll see Winter Conference that's coming up here the 3rd week of January, Tuesday through Friday, right after Martin Luther King Day. And those are free events. Those are all-day events. Guys can come to and see kind of what our R&D department at Precision Planting has been working on for the past 12 months. And it's kind of their time to shine, if you will, with some of the things they're working on. I'll do a presentation as the opening session talking about some nutrient management that we've been working on at the farm. But we'll do the same meeting every day, Tuesday through Friday. The following week is when my PTI team hits the road. So we are on the road with our traveling live tour, I guess we're calling it.
Do you guys have a big tour bus that you just get in and tour around?
We need one. I keep telling my guys we need to find something. And they tell me snow and ice is kind of hard with these big buses and all this, but I'm not driving it, so it doesn't matter to me. So, but we'll travel. I think we start in Pennsylvania the first week. We're in Iowa, we're in Nebraska, we're in Ohio, we're all through Wisconsin, Illinois. It's crazy. I think we've got almost 20 locations signed up. But you can see them if you go to the website and click on that events tab. It'll be the Inside PTI Live Tour. These are really fun meetings. We started doing this years ago where, I mentioned we put a top 10 list together of the things that are making me money as well as the things that are losing me. And we spend a lot of time talking about that. And these are intense meetings. They're about 4 hours long, and we just dive into it. it's crowd participation. Guys can ask questions and participate along. It's a lot of fun. We send surveys out to guys that come to these meetings, and we say, what can we do to improve the meeting? And right now, the biggest criticism is the meetings need to be longer. Geez, they're already 4 hours. How long do you want to go? But it just goes to show you that farmers are hungry. They want data, and they want it presented in a way that's easy to understand, and that's what we try to do.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll be at a handful of those meetings. Redox will have a table there so folks can come and talk to us about placement, timing, and rate. And I guess looking into 2026, we always ask, what's the one thing? What's the one thing through the trials this year and just kind of where everybody's sitting at is the one thing guys should be thinking about when they're making their input decisions, right, on nitrogen inputs in general. What would you say to them moving forward?
We got to know what our costs are. We got to know what our costs are to put this crop in and look at a realistic commodity price just to try to get through this cycle that we're in, this economic cycle of higher interest rates, higher crop input costs, low commodity prices. We got to know where we're at. We got to figure out how to keep this thing sustainable. I feel like the bushes are shaking, and I'm afraid who's going to fall out of these things, right? And it's just we have to learn how to be profitable. We've got to sharpen that pencil, and I would encourage everybody to know their costs. And then this spring, starting with the planter, put some trials in, play around, compare what you think is right to something else. That's the only way you're going to get the check mark or the confirmation of what you're doing is the best thing on your farm. So I know it takes some time to do some of that, but it's not that hard. And compare yourself and see if what you're doing is a winner. Awesome.
Well, thank you, Jason, for coming in and telling us about the trials, and looking forward to 2026. We'll probably have maybe a sneak peek of what you and I are going to be working on next year. We're just going to, like you said, sharpen those pencils, figure out what we want to do. Looking forward to working with you again in 2026. Thank you for
Yeah, same here. Thank you.